When we discuss African literature, we should keep in mind that African literature has a tradition that is not so much similar with the Indian tradition. Though on the basis of post-coloniality, we keep them together. But in fact, Indian society had an advantage, and that was a rich culture of writing. Mean the Indians before the arrival of the colonizer, they used to write in their native languages. In case of Africa, it is not right. African languages, they were oral, they had stories, they had cultural representation, but they didn't have written documents. And in the absence of written history, written literature, the Western or Europeans, they got a false impression that Africa does not have culture. Africa does not have literary history. Afterwards, when colonizers came and they introduced a Western education system, through this education system, the youth were educated and the people knew how to learn, how to write. And when they learned how to write, they learned writing in English or French. Mean uh, in the colonies of France, the people learned French language. In the colonies of Britain, the people learned English language. So in Africa, there were writers who were writing in English, but they had their own cultural or tribal languages. Their tribal association was strong, but their tribal languages, they were not supporting them. In African literature, mostly we come across 4 or 5 great names: Chinua Achebe, Wole Shonika, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Frantz Fanon, who is a theorist, critic, psychiatrist, known for his work, The Black Skin, White Mask, and The Wretched of the Earth. These are two critical works by Frantz Fanon. Another writer critic is Ngugi wa Thiong'o. He is a Kenyan writer, novelist, as well as a great literary critic. He uh, actually participated in the War of Independence, and his brother actually was killed in Mao uprising. That's the war of 1950s and 60s when Kenya was liberated from colonial rule. He had written in English language, but when he was in Kenya and part of the university, he introduced the idea that is called the abolition of English department. That's an essay, that's a treatise in which he advocated for the abolition of English department and emphasized for a new cultural tradition of Africa. We can say Ngugi wa Thiong'o is not only a post-colonial, but he is anti-colonial writer. His voice is more poignant than voice of Shonika, Achebe, and others who prefer to write in English. Ngugi tried to write in his native language, Jiku. Though he couldn't survive in his homeland, I mean Kenya, and he had to flee to America, and he is serving over there. He has written many novels, and in his novels, he has advocated the idea of abrogation instead of appropriation. Appropriation का मतलब है कि we should try to meet the standards of English language. Abrogation means we should have a subversive attitude towards language and its hegemony. यानी इंग्लिश की जो बालादस्ती है, हेजमनी है, उसको तोड़ने के लिए हमें अप्रोप्रिएट करने के बजाय इसको एब्रोगेट यानी कि बिगाड़ के जो है वो प्रेजेंट करना चाहिए. These are ideas which are seen in his novels, The Grains of Wheat, The Red Petal, and many others. Among post-colonial African novels, Things Fall Apart is mostly part of syllabus, and it has been written by Nigerian novelist Chinua Achebe. Achebe is a Nigerian fiction writer who has died few years ago. He belongs to Igbo tribe and very much conscious of Igbo culture and its cultural representation. He presents Igbo culture, Igbo idiom, proverbs in English through his novels. He is thought one of the first novelists to transform the landscape of African fiction. He challenges many of the Western impressions of African life and culture and replaces simplistic stereotypes with portrayals of complex society. These simplistic stereotypes were seen in novels of European novelists, I mean, like Joseph Conrad's The Heart of Darkness, which presents African or Congo people not more than the beast of burden. These people are not presented with ideas. These people are not presented with any religious tradition. These people are not presenting any, you can say, humanist ideal. They are presented as dependent, fearful, uh, tormented, tortured, killed, maimed characters. H.B. wrote an essay, and in his famous essay, which he actually wrote against, Joseph Conrad. Title of this essay is An Image of Africa, Racism in Conrad's Heart of Darkness. So what was actually suggested in this essay or in his other essay, Home and Exile, that was fictionally represented in his novel, The Trouble with Nigeria, Things Fall Apart, No Longer at Ease, Arrow of God, A Man of People, and Hills of Savannah. Things Fall Apart is his novel, which is sometimes thought second best after Ant Hills of Savannah, and sometimes it is appreciated. It's a tragedy of its Igbo tribal chief Okonko's tragedy that traces the role of colonial parts in his tragedy and that of a complex tribal society. Tragedy of complex tribal society. It shows representation of African culture that is not cultureless. It shows that English writers like Joyce Carey in his novel Mr. Johnson and Joseph Conrad in his Art of Darkness have created false stereotypes of Africans, and he tries to shatter those stereotypes. His novel Things Fall Apart